This video will be a brief look into the anatomy and unique life cycle of jellyfish, which fall under different clades such as medusozoans. These unique creatures are becoming more and more abundant in our oceans due to rising sea levels and more availability of habitat appropriate for their growth as a result, so it is important to understand them more. One thing that makes the lives of these creatures so unique is their life cycle is split into two parts: the bottom-dwelling polyp stage and the free-swimming medusa stage. While unique in many ways, the core characteristics of their body plan remains constant between these two stages. The features of this body plan includes the presence of tentacles for catching prey, a single mouth and anus, a gastrovascular cavity for digestion and increased rate of gas diffusion into tissues for circulation, an epidermis to protect the inner organs, a gastrodermis which serves as the inner layer and is the site of digestion and can contract for different types of movement like jet propulsion, and a mesoglia, which is the jelly-like in-between of the epidermis and gastrodermis. Let's focus on the polyp stage first. The polyp is a sessile, cylindrical-shaped creature that adheres to different surfaces in their environment and waits for prey to come right into their tentacles to eat. Another unique feature to note is that their mouth and anus is facing upwards, so as to allow prey in using the polyp's tentacles. The type of polyps with these tentacles are called feeding polyps, and they often prey on zooplankton and phytoplankton. Although some cnidarians have the ability to move their muscles in the arboreal end of their body to move on a surface slowly, Obelia, a type of medusozoan, does not have this ability. Some other cnidarians are also able to detach from surfaces in time of danger and attempt to float away using the force of their tentacles, but Obelia are confined to the surface in which they are attached. Obelia is able to grow in colonies with two types of polyps, a feeding polyp and a reproductive polyp. These polyps are all attached together in the colony by a series of feeding tubes. The reproductive polyps lack tentacles and produce tiny medusa buds via asexual reproduction. This happens when a process called strobilation starts to occur, and these polyps develop horizontal grooves which look like tiny saucers. These saucers eventually bud off and become ephira, or tiny jellyfish. While this form of reproduction was asexual, medusozoans are also able to reproduce sexually. Once the ephirae have budded off, they quickly mature into adult medusae. The medusae are able to move freely in the water with passive drifting from the ocean currents and also via contractions of the gastrodermis for jet propulsion. Their tentacles dangle from the oral surface and face downwards. While the feeding polyps are able to wait for their prey to come get them, the medusa form has a unique method of hunting its prey. Their tentacles contain a secret weapon, cnidocytes. These specialized cells contain organelles called cnidae, which propel towards a threat or towards a meal. These cnidae can poison the target. Medusae can be male or female, and they have their own respective gonads. The male gonads produce sperm, which the male then releases through its mouth/anus. The female then swims towards the sperm and collects it in her mouth, where the eggs are harbored. Here, the eggs are fertilized and the zygote develops into a larva, which is called a planula. This tiny, immature, oval-shaped organism has a ciliated outer layer, which allows the larva to move through the water. They are also able to be carried by stronger ocean currents, similar to the medusa form. After a few days of floating on the surface of the water, the planula will float back down and find a substrate such as a rock to rest upon and develop into a polyp. Once this happens, the planula develops into a polyp with a disc at its base that allows it to attach to the substrate. Once this polyp matures, it eventually develops into the more complex polyp colony, and the cycle starts once more. Thank you for watching this video.